Hey everyone, you've got Patrick McLain, your host for another Reimagine guest that we've been lucky to talk to many times in the past. Last time we were just joking. I think him and I were talking about Do Kwon and everything going on, and even since then the market has changed quite a bit. This event's pretty special. We've got quite a bit of students from both Yale and Oxford interested in blockchain here to kind of answer some interesting questions from a very well-known guest who people really want to understand his opinion on these topics. So before we get started, maybe some of the students go ahead and introduce yourselves and your club. But Justin, maybe we can start with you.
Okay, yes, yeah. So my name is Justin. I'm a PhD student here at the Yale Microbiology Department, and I'm the Vice President of the Yale Student Blockchain and Cryptocurrency Club here. We have about 50 active members in our club and about 150 people on our mailing list. And our main focus of the club is to educate interested graduate students that are really busy in their many different backgrounds by inviting professional speakers in the field to talk about blockchain and what cryptocurrencies are, their philosophy, and to connect these graduate students with potential employers.
Awesome. Tom, how about yourself?
Sure, thank you. Hi, everyone. So I'm Tom. I'm a master's student studying mathematics and statistics at the University of Oxford. And I'm the co-president of Oxford Blockchain Society. So we host a wide range of events, from introducing the entire university ecosystem, what is a wallet, to smart contract boot camps. We're traveling to hackathons. We'll be at Denver, and we're really excited for our Oxford conference in Trinity term, which is our final term. So please also keep a lookout for that one. And huge thanks to Paolo today for talking to us.
Awesome. Dave, how are you doing today?
Yeah, doing great. So I'm Dave. Thanks for inviting again. I'm the co-founder of Yale GSS Blockchain Crypto Club. So basically, our club is doing a lot of research together, investment thesis, investigation and stuff, and also we do boot camp, kind of to help students to dive into and also do hackathons and stuff. And also we go to conference together as students body. So basically we also hold activities to let students kind of hang in together with also employees and all employer, and to get more into the industry. So yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, appreciate it. Last but not least, Eito.
Hello, my name is Eito. I'm a fourth year in computer science, doing a master's here, same as Tom. I come from a very tech and AI kind of background, and I'm the co-president of the Oxford Blockchain Society. I want to talk about sort of the vision of the Oxford Blockchain Society. Our sort of motto is to educate, cultivate, and accelerate. And we really want to establish Oxford as the second pillar to London for where the Oxford blockchain, the blockchain innovation within the UK happens. And we've had a lot of vibrant startups coming out of Oxford, and we really hope to be supporting that, continuing forward through OBS.
Awesome. Well, glad to have all you guys, and we'll get in here kind of with the conversation. And Paolo, I don't know if you need much of an introduction, but I think really I'm interested to definitely talk to you during this time. I think in this world, like let's say post FTX, the last few months, right? I think we've undergone some changes as an industry where regulators are kind of looking at it, and it seems to be coming out of a bit more aggressive stance. It seems that one of the places they're attacking first is kind of stable coins and all of the banks, all of the fiat on-ramps. In your position at Tether and kind of how you see the industry, I'm curious to hear your thoughts around, how has the market changed over the last few months? Is regulation coming, and are they coming for stable coins?
Well, definitely. Well, first of all, thank you very much, everyone, for having me today. It's a pleasure. And if there is something that I love really a lot in this world, is actually education, and people really trying to bring education, as you guys are doing, to your fellow colleagues in the universities you are participating in. So the world is a mess. The world of blockchain and cryptocurrencies has been left a mess since FTX, honestly. I think that even the days before the entire FTX collapse, no one could believe, even myself, that the issue was so big. The really openly, I think the most frustrating part is that, as I'm sure you know, the entire blockchain ecosystem started with Bitcoin, and in January 3rd, 2009, the first block referenced the 2007-2008 financial crisis, talking about the Bank of England to be on the brink of collapse. And felt like this entire movement started from, a willing to move forward, to go past the errors of traditional finance. And then the sad realization is that crypto industry learned really well from Madoff and all the other colleagues. And I think we could do better. I think that that is not a representative of the entire industry. I think we have seen how few bad apples can taint an entire technology that is probably one of the most important technologies of the last 100 years. And so how we get from, how we resurrect from these, those events is really the real question mark. So myself and many other colleagues have been talking to regulators, have been talking to other people in the industry. The hedge funds are scared. No one wants to anyway keep much money on crypto exchanges. Stable coins are, as you said, Patrick, under attack. We have seen BUSD being basically shut down. We are seeing the SEC also starting more questioning more aggressively crypto projects. So definitely this will be a moment of, this is the moment of truth, right? So we are definitely going to see regulators looking how they can enforce actions towards certain participants of the industry. Sometimes in a proper way, sometimes as an overreaction. And the problem is that we have seen the past overreactions towards good projects, when projects like FTX were able to survive and thrive, quote unquote thrive, because actually they were not thriving. They were just using customers' funds to to pay for consensus. Anyway, we have seen how the bad apples were actually able to please some regulators around the world, while some good projects were really under severe pressure. So I think that one of the hopes that we have in this moment with our continuous discussions with the regulators is, in fact, trying to make them understand that what happened last year in 2022 doesn't necessarily require more regulations, because most of what happened was anyway fraud with existing laws, right? So stealing customer money is fraud, is not allowed, is against the law anyway. We also, as an exponent of Tether, we aim for regulations, but regulations that would help this industry to thrive, to grow, to to protect the customer while allowing innovation to foster. So it's going to be more and more difficult now with FTX, but I believe that there is still some opening with regulators and with both in US and Europe to make this to educate them. Many of them, they want to listen from industry leaders. They want really to deep dive in the industry. I was part of some discussions in London, and I've seen a lot of openness in London related to both stablecoins and crypto in general and blockchain technologies, just because, really openly we have been seeing some, I think the realization from UK, for example, is the, capital flew away after Brexit. And blockchain is such important technology that with good regulations, with forward-looking regulations, you could actually attract more capital back. You could you can attract great minds and great startups. So it's still everything. Just to summarize, everything is a mess. myself, as many others, are trying their best to bring back the attention to the good qualities of this technology, and trying to confine what happened within bad apples.
And I want to just maybe drill into that a little bit more. Like I think like when we filmed that coin show, right? Like a year and a half, 2 years ago, I remember the sentiment is like Coinbase went public, Bitcoin's at 60,000. I feel like I started to hear everyone say, hey, look, like we passed the Rubicon, like they're accepting us now, right? And then, all right, as soon as you have FTX, it's like, so do you think they were just waiting for a moment like that, or they're actually like trying to see responsible regulation, or certain entities really, at the end of the day, they don't want this world to exist?
Well, there is, I mean, I would just speculate. It's definitely, I don't think that anyone would want FTX to happen. Some speculation say that some regulators were waiting for a big issue like FTX to happen so they could bring in enforcements. I don't believe in that. I would hope that is not the case. I would hope that that case slipped through the cracks. Also, we have seen how FTX was in a way extremely professional and thorough in ensuring media and political consensus. So it's really hard to. I think that FTX was really a particular case, but I really hope that no one wanted to capitalize on these type of issues, because that would be at expenses of many millions of retail customers that suffer immensely from this situation.
Definitely. Well, hey, let's dive in to some of the student questions here. But Eito, maybe you want to take us in?
Yeah. Thank you so much for the questions and the opportunity. Something I really wanted to ask about was actually the recent events that was seen in the market of capital flow to USDT, given the BUSD scrutiny as well as the USDC. Just wanted to know about your thoughts on that and what maybe is a non-obvious insight to what's happening with that capital flow.
Well, the obvious insight is that I'm biased. So whatever I'm going to say will be biased, of course, right? So, but I think that, we have been living, myself representing Tether pretty openly. I've been subject to a lot of pressure media for the last many years, right? So Tether has been probably the most scrutinized company in the world. So much pressure from left and right. We have been definitely, I think, in the last few years, we improved ourselves, right? I'm not here to tell you that we made everything perfect. And then we had, the bad guys were pressuring us. But I think that the potential, the innovation, and the actual strengths of Tether were, misunderstood by many as, being, kind of a bad apple. So for the past many years, right? So we have been hearing many conspiracy theories about Tether for so much time. And kind of most of it you could relate to actual being either shy or being a company that was focusing on tech rather than communications, right? So we started such a small company in 2014. No one of us could believe that we would become so big so fast. And it's sometimes you have what is called growing pains, so that you grow so fast that it's really hard to catch up and make everything perfect. But yet I believe that in the last few years we demonstrated a lot. We grew this company to a peak of $84 billion, and now is around $70 billion. I think that the realization is that Tether is actually the only company, not the only company, but I would say one of the few companies, you could count them on the fingers of a hand, that really resisted for so many years in no matter what condition, despite all the attacks, despite all the scrutiny, we're still there, and we're still the first stablecoin in the market. I think the realization is that, for Tether, also our business model, I think, is more is really different from the others. We see our competition that was really focusing on trying to be the best buddies of the big banks, while I feel like we are driven by the ethos of Bitcoin, where we feel that the end goal is to break the unbanking world and to bring financial services to everyone, right? So feels like no one wants really to talk about the unbanked communities that are more than 2 billion people. And like, yeah, everyone would like to be seen to be helpful to them just for good marketing, but no one really asks. And I think that the strength of Tether over the years was realizing that there are a ton of people that don't have bank accounts almost everywhere in the world, starting from Asia, from South America to Africa, and really literally billions of people. And we started to grow our customer base there. We started to be recognized as one of the pillars of many communities and many families' lives. And so I think there is not enough, there is no money that can buy that feeling, right? So what we achieved was not even because we were good, actually, right? We achieved that just because we created a useful product, but we realized that Tether was big after the fact, in a way, right? So after many others in many communities around the world realized that. And so I feel like all these recent events, when there were many companies better than us in putting their names on stadiums, putting their names on Formula One cars, everywhere basically, on football teams. In the end, the result is that all that money was either their investor or their customers' money, and in the end, they left their customers hanging. So if you can count on a company in this ecosystem, would be Tether. I think we are capitalizing over time on this realization of people, and so. BUSD has been a product. I like the work that Paxos was doing. I like the model of Paxos because they are, as you know, they are running this a sort of a white label solution where they provide the technology, they provide the banking, they provide the regulatory framework to different parties. And so I'm kind of actually sad to have seen BUSD being shut down, because despite what people could think, you as an industry leader, you never want to be in an industry where there is only yourself, right? So if there is only yourself, you cannot really call that an industry, and you're basically left alone hanging, and you just are waiting for all the attacks, all the scrutiny coming to you, actually, rather than actually building more partners, building more choices. That is always been helpful. So in a way, of course, we are always glad to see Tether growing, but not at the expenses of a competitor that has been shut down in general. So yeah, but in general, as I said, I think Tether, despite all the attacks, has been proved the most solid company in 2022. In just 2 days, 48 hours, Tether redeemed $7 billion, was 10% of our reserves. 30 days, we redeemed $20 billion, was 25% of our reserves. And the simple question that I ask everyone is, go to your bank, wherever you live, and ask them 25% of their assets and see what happens, right? So we have seen in many countries like Lebanon, and Turkey, and so many in Venezuela and Argentina, most of the time when this happens, people, get arrested or get thrown out of the bank, because this is abnormal for the traditional financial system. The only time this happened was in 2008. Washington Mutual was this bank that was asked for 10% of their reserves back, and that bank went bankrupt. So I think that we definitely, it's not just us. I expect the crypto industry to do much better than the banking system, but I think that Tether is paving the way.
Thanks for that. Dave, you wanna come in next?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks again, Paulo. So my question is kind of regarding the auditing. So I'm kind of wondering what is the people are kind of wondering about that. So I'm kind of wondering what is the auditing procedure of your balance sheet in regard to your business covering different entities. Is it audited by one or more auditing company?
So the auditing is a great point. Is a great question. So first of all, there is no stablecoin that have a full audit, what is called full audit. So stablecoins are engaging with auditors to provide attestations. The attestations are the industry standard. So the first question is why stablecoins don't have a proper full audit as a financial institution. That is a legitimate question that we ask ourselves many times, right? But keep in mind, right? So just to give you some real life examples, if you find an auditor, right? So and to do a full audit, you can imagine that you usually want to go with a top 4 auditing firm, right? So there are 4 big auditing firms. They are called the Big 4. So you contact them, you start working with them, but the end result, of course, would be having the full audit. But in order to, you have to pay for their services, right? For their services, and whatever amount of money you would pay would never make up for the fact that they have thousands of other customers that are the banking industry that will never accept to be audited by the same company that would audit a risky company like a stablecoin. Let's put this in this way. There are no regulations around stablecoins, right? The US and Europe didn't create any meaningful regulation around stablecoins. Regulations are useful to determine how a stablecoin should work, right? So what type of reserves it should have, how to manage issuances, how to manage redemptions, what are the KYC and AML processes. But, if there are no regulations, you go to a Big 4, right? Big 4 auditor. And, you of course pay for their services. But why they should be the one that stick out the neck and take on the risk to basically put a stamp on your audit when there is no regulator that is going to say how that should be done? So why they should risk, for making, I don't know, $1 million, $2 million more per year, I don't know, why they should risk that when they're making 1 billion on the other side, completely fine, happy, in a nice regulated environment. So it's easy as that, right? So at this moment, Tether has the best accounting firm that is called BDO that performs attestations, is the top 5, so just the one outside the Big 4. And the process is, although it's an attestation, is extremely thorough, right? So it's, but that is an attestation. So audits are much more complex because, again, why anyone should stick out their neck to confirm or deny a process that doesn't exist. So we believe, and Tether has been and is actually working with different companies and auditing companies to get a full audit. But it takes time. It takes much more time than what we expected. And now the community, of course, is making fun of us, but it's still fine, right? So we will get there. The community made fun of Tether since 2014. Doesn't matter, right? So we will still get there. We are keep going, and we are relentless. If there is a good thing, I mean, I'm Italian. I don't take a no easily, and I want to see this through.
And let me add one point on that. Like, do you think is the lack of clarity, like the lack of any regulatory framework, is that purposeful? Like, do they know that they put you guys in a bad spot? And like, do you feel like a lot of these governments are teeing up for their own like CBDCs and they don't really, they're not they don't see too much urgency to like make Tether more acceptable to everyone?
Well, I don't think that is the case. I think that most of the time, right? So I'm seeing Europe trying to regulate how Amazon should work 20 years later, right? So Yeah, so I think most of the time regulations are quite slow because it's really hard to understand and have the full overview of the entire ecosystem. There are so many parts pushing for changes and so on. You even look at the MiCA license, the MiCA regulation in Europe. It's taking ages. There are so many changes at last minute changes. So I think that definitely governments are interested in CBDCs, but also on that point, I think that there is a little bit of misconception on the point of CBDCs. So CBDCs are extremely risky also for central banks, right? So let me explain you why. Imagine that you are a European central bank and you want to create your CBDC and you want to replace cash. The thing with cash is that cash is peer-to-peer, and the cash is bearing no positive interest, but is bearing no negative interest. So imagine that you replace the entire cash with your CBDC. What you are going to do, if you are the central bank, are you going to take on the risk of allowing positive interest and negative interest? Are you going to allow it to not bear any type of interest? So if what will happen if you change your mind, right? So eventually you want to apply a negative interest. That will create a revolution. So because you have, with cash, you are used to have, of course, you have inflation that in a way is kind of a negative interest. But at the same time, you don't have, if you were holding Swiss francs in your bank account, for example, you would have a negative interest applied, right? So, and at some point also with euros, you had negative interest. So the big question is how, peer-to-peer cash has been peer-to-peer and part of the human lives for the last 6,000 years. So our government could take on the risk to completely wipe out cash and replace it with something that could buy them back. Is extremely risky, right? When we do that, there is no way back. It's not easy to go public and say, well, guys, I messed up and now take back your cash. It doesn't work like that. So I think that before, apart, certain countries like maybe China, that they are having a bigger push. In European countries and in US, I think it will be really hard to see CBDCs being adopted widely. So I'm personally talking with few small governments. They are definitely more interested to launch CBDCs, but because they have less to lose, right? So maybe their national currency is devaluating really quickly against the dollar or against the euro. So anyway, they are happy to try whatever it takes to gain more control and more traction. But with euros, with Japanese yen, I was in a panel with one of the exponents of the Japanese central bank, and also in that case, they are afraid of negative interest applied to CBDCs, and I think actually that opened up my mind a lot. So bottom line, I think that all the governments and all central banks want to be seen like the cool guys, and they want to be seen as the ones that are researching CBDCs. But before seeing a mass adoption of CBDC, which will take a long time.
Got it. Thank you. Tom, you wanna come in here?
Yes, thank you. So aside from CBDCs, do you think in the distant future we will have a single stablecoin monopoly? And if so, what are the implications of that?
I would hope not. I don't think we should have a single stablecoin dominance. Again, it's important for people to have options. I believe that a way to move from one stablecoin to another is extremely important. You would never want to be in create an industry where there is only yourself, and that would expose yourself to a lot of attacks, as well as would remove from the users of this technology a lot of important use cases. So I think, you know, having diversification and sort of you know, decentralization is definitely helpful. I understand that I'm saying this and from the point of view of Tether, and seems kind of absurd, but I always said publicly that I don't care if Tether becomes the second biggest stablecoin or the third biggest stablecoin, right? You can imagine a future where JP Morgan could take probably $100 billion or $200 billion of you know, of their assets and create a US dollar stablecoin. That would be from the first day much bigger than Tether. That doesn't matter to us. The only thing that matters is that these stable coins would be interchangeable. And the only thing that matters is that, you know, all these feel like all our competitors would still focus on probably e-commerces and you know, big bank settlements, interbanking settlements, while we really want to focus on the $1 transactions in emerging markets and developing countries. So I think that world, especially, you know, the world is so big and so full of opportunities that definitely we'll see more and more, you know, stable coins coming up, probably proposed by the big players in the traditional financial ecosystem. So I doubt that Tether will remain forever the biggest one.
Got it. Justin.
Yes. So driving that conversation forward a little bit more, I've read that in 2021 December that the country Myanmar adopted USDT as their official currency. So I was wondering if you believe if more countries afflicted with political or currency crises will begin to adopt USDT as their official currency.
Well, USDT is a great way to hold dollars for many people, and I'm with Tether. We are myself and Tether. We are dedicating all our resources to both financial freedom and freedom of communications. We build projects like Kit, like Hole Punch, that are, you know, fully free and super open. And to us, I mean, of course, it's an honor to be used as by the parallel government that tries to regain the freedom of its own country. Of course, it's really hard to, you know, this is a technology, so sometimes you have also the bad guys using a certain technology. So you have, as a private company, as well as a company in general, public or private, you have to do your best to ensure that, or to protect the technology from being used by the bad guys. But I think that we are seeing in Argentina, even if it's not, or in Turkey, if it is not an actual legal tender, we are seeing Tether being part of the day-to-day life of people, not just the crypto people, right? So you see people doing groceries or getting salaries using Tether. And believe it or not, we didn't do anything about it. As I was saying before, we didn't do any marketing push in Argentina or Venezuela or Turkey. We are definitely helping Turkey now with the, you know, after the earthquake and what happened. We are doing donations, and of course, but the beautiful thing is when things happen organically, because it just means you created a beautiful product that works. So we cannot claim that we were that great to push for such big adoption. Have people where, you know, when people are in need, they will always lean towards finding the best solution to protect their lives and the ones of their families. I have the example of a friend in Turkey that was telling me that he wants to have his children to study in Europe, right? One in Switzerland, and if he would save in Turkish liras at the end of the year, he would be poorer than at the beginning of the year, because just the Turkish lira is devaluating so fast that there is no way for him to make up for this loss in value. So he's using USDT just because that's the best way to, he's not, this is not about speculation, right? So it's not like your old Bitcoins or your old Ethereum. That would be still speculating with your family money. And, you know, if you are a trader, if you want to try take a small bet with a little portion of your money, that's fine. But most of the people I'm talking to and most of the people that are using Tether are just, they don't care about speculation, right? They just care about, you know, saving money for their own families and, you know, and friends.
And how do you think that's kind of played out, for example, like in El Salvador? So, I mean, I know like you guys, I've seen like Samson Mao there, you know, I see Brock Pierce there, right? When all this is going on, I feel like the Bitfinex team kind of like working with them a little bit, you know, how has that played out in El Salvador, especially like since the price swings? I mean, like yeah, you think it was like a good move for them so far?
I think it was a great move. So far they have attracted a ton of capital, right? So you are El Salvador, you are a small country in Central America, and a country that has been known for being poor and violent in the past. And you become president and you really want to try to change things, right? So that should be, I mean, I wish in Italy we had someone that wanted really to try different things. And yet, I feel like in South America and, you know, in Central America and in Asia and in Africa, there are countries that are set to outperform Europeans and European countries, definitely. Because they see innovation, they see the potential of this technology in a much clearer way than ourselves. So the realization was that there is this technology that at its peak was allowing around $3 trillion of wealth around the world, right? The peak was mid-2021. And imagine if you are a country that has a GDP of $10 billion per year. $10 billion was 1/5 of Dogecoin market cap in 2021. So imagine that just you can add 1 billion, you can attract 1 billion, 2 billion investments in the first 2-3 years of working with investors that are coming from the crypto industry, right? That investor that wants to see a country thriving. They want to help countries, right? So the realization was extremely correct. There is a lot of money in the crypto industry. There is a lot of money in Bitcoin. Why we don't make a law that would attract and facilitate these people to invest in the country? And so far, you can see that from tourism. You can see that from new investment sizes. That is happening. And it only works if you are one of the first countries in doing that. If you are the 100th country that does that, you know, no one cares. But, you know, if you are not scared, if you want really to change, especially if you don't have much to lose and you want to change the future of your country, that is, I think, is a fair bet, is a really intelligent bet.
Got it. Let's go back to you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question about the recent CBDC. Well, actually, more of the BRICS CBDC that they were sort of talking about, as well as, you know, Saudi Arabia's, or specifically MBS's interest to join BRICS. What do you think about the whole BRICS CBDC, as well as sort of that take to try and like become the reserve currency?
So although that is extremely interesting in theory, I would say, would be really hard to put that in motion, because it would mean that you have, 5 different countries, 6 different countries, if you count a few additional countries that might want to join, that would need to create a portfolio of national currencies so a basket of national currencies, because you cannot have like one single currency be the preferred ones. Then otherwise you go back to the dollar situation where one country will hold much more power than the others. But also doing a basket is not that easy, right? So because you have different components that are the different currencies, and that is extremely difficult to manage. So if a country starts printing more money than the other, how you balance that in the basket, right? So these countries have different rates of inflation, different rates of growth. So it's extremely difficult to try to create one single basket to rule them all. So I think the alternative that could be extremely interesting, and in Tether actually tried that in the past, and is one of its best products actually, is a product that we think could even obscure the growth of USDT, is Tether Gold. So in general, I feel like gold is a much better stable coin than the dollar, right? So if you talk to almost anyone in the crypto industry, if you talk to them about gold, they will tell you that gold is never as good as a Bitcoin. And that is true in my opinion, but the problem is that they are looking at the wrong way. Gold should be compared to the dollar rather than to Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin already won because it's transportable. You can bring it from one place to another just with 24 words in your mind. But gold is understood by everyone on this earth, has been used for 6,000 years by everyone as a mean of exchange, a store of value. So creating a stable coin or creating a CBDC that is actually backed by gold is the best way, because gold cannot be counterfeited, right? So these countries can hold a portion of gold in a single storage, and can elect one agnostic country to hold the gold, or they can keep a portion of the gold. Each of them can hold a portion of the gold. So I think the gold is actually going back to the gold standard is a smart move rather than being going to create issues. The reason why the countries relinquished the gold standard was so that they could print as much money as they wanted, right? We are seeing how US printed 30% of the total dollars in circulation in 18 months. So that would not have been possible with having to have gold in reserves. So if gold doesn't allow you to have a ceiling to your debt, and so on and so forth. So I think that if someone wants to do it right, if someone wants to have a proper resilient stablecoin that is not subject to different countries have different inflation rates, growth, and so on, that would be a gold-based stablecoin.
Thanks for that. Dave, let's go to you.
Yeah, great. Thanks. I have a question in regard to fungibility. I'm wondering, Paolo, do you believe that fungibility of the USDT token will ever be an issue in the future?
So that is similar to Bitcoin in a way, right? So because I think fungibility per se will not have problems, but I think that more and more the number of hops that you would have, or you would need to track the number of hops that your transaction or your tethers are doing in order to make sure that you didn't receive money that is coming from or is related to any illicit activity, right? So because USDT will be always fungible, but you still might not want to have your USDT wallet being tainted by USDT coming from any illicit activity. That is true for every cryptocurrency. So that's why Tether is actually working with chain analysis and with the law enforcement around the world to, of course, monitor these type of behaviors. Tether, in the last 2 years, Tether gave back to its community more than $200 million coming from hacks, right? When people get hacked, we are usually fast enough to intervene. We work with law enforcement, we freeze the assets, and we reissue the assets to the legitimate owners. But so that definitely is something that will need to be structured and should, already today is working much better than the banking system, because we can act directly and much faster than the traditional banking system, because you have transparency, right? So you can still track funds on chain. But at the same time, it's important that you as a individual, you as a company, if you receive payments, you should feel comfortable to receive payments, because they are not coming from any illicit activity. And that's something that Tether is working on to monitor and work with the law enforcement.
They always conveniently forget to mention that the dollar and cash is what everyone's using for illicit activity. They always leave that one out.
That's true, because in the end, keep in mind that the dollars are much harder to track. So with Tether, so sometimes when I talk to regulators, they ask me, do you think that Tether is being used for illicit activity? And my answer is, if you are doing anything illegal, you would be really dumb to use Tether, because it's all transparent, right? So, and we proved that with again, $200 million have been returned to legitimate owners, or we have been working with law enforcement to freeze illicit activity just right at the beginning. So all the possible illicit activities happen with national currencies, because people are using cash, people are using even the banking system just to transfer trillions that are being used for all the possible crazy things, right? So all the drug dealing and so on and so forth. So, when you have such a transparent tool, you really don't want to shoot on your foot, right?
They're not banned. They're not calling for cash to be banned. I noticed. Tom, let's go to you.
Sure. You mentioned earlier bad apples a few times. So I'm interested to hear how you think the community, investors, and regulators should work towards identifying bad apples before they become a too big part of the tree.
Well, I think that the community should sometimes ask itself, is something is too good to be true, right? Or is I heard many people, so simple examples. As part of my job, I also run an exchange called Bitfinex, and I know exactly how an exchange is running, how is profitable, how what are the costs, and so on. And when I hear, also professional traders that were trading much more, for example, on FTX, because they had such good fees that sometimes, they had the perfect fee tiers. So they basically, trading there would not cost anything, and they were making a ton of money. Sometimes you should ask yourself, wait a minute, but how is happening that every time I trade, I make money, right? And my fees are zero. So how the exchange is making money, right? So, and eventually, if there are no costs, right, you are the product. You are their cash cow. And I feel like, so sometimes we as human beings tend to believe that good things should happen to us, and so we tend to believe in the good faith of everyone. That is nice, of course, but doesn't really protect ourselves from people at taking advantage of us. And again, so the community should do a little bit more research and trying to understand when things are too good to be true. On the other side, the regulators should try to focus on the big guys rather than the small guys. Sometimes we have seen in the past how regulators happen to target the small guys to make an example out of them, because that is an easy win, rather than focus on huge operations that actually are really, again, too good to be true. And I'm going to say again what I said at the beginning. What happened in 2022 with all those companies, because it's not just FTX, right? You have, of course, Terra Luna, you had Celsius, BlockFi, Voyager, Genesis Trading, DCG, all these companies, right? All these companies were doing things that definitely are considered illegal in any possible way. It's not like you need a regulator that create a new crypto rule that tells you that that thing is illegal, right? So I think it's not that we need more rules, but we need the existing rules to be enforced.
Definitely. Justin, you wanna take us?
Yes. Yeah. So well, before time runs out, I wanted to switch topics to peer-to-peer technology, since I really wanted to pick your brain on this topic.
Oh, yes, I have time.
Awesome. Yeah, because I've recently downloaded the Keat app, and I really like the ethos of the Keat app, right? We are no longer the products, direct communication without a server. But so I was always a very interested and person in the peer-to-peer technology field with the creation of BitTorrent. And I really wanted to know, like, why do you think that peer-to-peer technologies haven't really been very popular in the past decade? And what do you think will be the catalyst for mass usage of this technology?
Well, no one ever developed on an actual peer-to-peer technology. So first of all, it took us to spend 5-7 years to arrive to the point where we could launch Keat. It took a long time because we had to rewrite everything from scratch. We wouldn't reuse BitTorrent technology, so we took ideas from some ideas from BitTorrent, but also we improved a lot on top of BitTorrent, and we did a ton of research and development. You see, Keat or Hole Punch as a communication transport layer cannot make money itself, right? It's a product that we don't own. It's a product that everyone can take, use it, and we will never make a dime, because there is no point of control. If you create a pure peer-to-peer technology, right, there is no way to control it. So if you don't have a way to control it, there is no way to make money. The entire web, what we call Web 2, but in a way also Web 3, is completely skewed towards having centralized infrastructures, because you need, if you are a CEO of a new company or a startup, and you go to an investor or to a VC, and you tell them, look, I want to build this cool technology, but I will never make money. What do you think the answer will be, right? So they will shut down the door and kick your ass, and you know, you are basically never going to see a cent. But the truth is that we at Tether, we have been extremely lucky, and we are activists ourselves. And I'm 38, and I'm coding since I'm 8 years old, and I'm seeing how internet was born. I started using I started using Usenet. I was there with where all the cool guys were on IRC and so on. And I missed that time. I missed the feeling, right? So where everyone tried to be like, everyone was kind of an hacker in the good sense, right? So the hacker term is, if you didn't read it, you should read the Hacker Manifesto. That is a great way. Is a great paper that describes what an actual hacker is. Is someone that wants to break the technology, want to understand how it works to make it better, right? Someone that believes that technology, it should be an integral part of our human life and should be free. No one should control technology. So that really opened my eyes. Really is what drove me through my career. And now that we have the possibility with Tether, we realize that we owe to everyone using Tether that we invest part of what we make in profits in open technology. So I think that in the end, to summarize to your question, Tether is in the only almost unique place where we can invest money for the benefit of everyone and not our own benefit. And I think that there is, that's the best feeling, because in the end, not everything should be about making more money, right? So, we don't need to buy, fancy yachts or whatever. It's much more important that we build cool tech. And also, by the way, that applies to AI. So we are discussing how we can apply our peer-to-peer technology to make, because one of the things that I would hate most, I'm a big sci-fi fan, and I believe that with the 3 laws of Asimov, right? So one of the issues there would be that AI that would power robots will skew the 3 laws of Asimov based on their bias. And let's be frank, right? Everyone in the world has a bias, right? Everyone in the world is, sorry for the term, is a little bit racist in a way, right? So all the communities, anyway, they are trying to protect themselves and look to the foreigners in a different way, right? So that is how human beings are. But the problem is that we should not have one single AI trained by one single group, owned by one single company, that define what the global bias should be, right? So you want AIs that adapt to everyone. You want to have AIs that can serve everyone, and they can be respectful of everyone's idea, rather than being polarized on a certain political view and so on. So I believe, and I'm creating this movement related to hole punch. It's something that we started in just a few weeks ago. We believe that there are ways so that you can create a real peer-to-peer AI that would, in a way, similar. You could create a ChatGPT version where not all the parameters are on a single cluster, let's say, but parameters can be spread across multiple peers, and every single of these peers could contribute with its own bias, because that's how humanity it is, right? So it is a set of knowledge, and knowledge is always subjective, right? So apart from math and physics, everything else is completely subject. So there is no, even with search engine, there is no big global truth. There is your own truth that is based on your environment, what you learn, your parents, your culture, and so on and so forth. So AI should go in that direction. And so if there is another thing that Tether is going to start funding, is like actual peer-to-peer knowledge base for AI and trading sets.
Very interesting. Well, hey, I think we're getting up here kind of to the end of this conversation, and I appreciate everyone joining. And I guess maybe, Paolo, at one point, if you want to take us out, I think whether it's the students on this call or other students maybe that are going to be watching this, maybe their parents call them and say, hey, I don't know about that whole blockchain crypto world. I keep reading about it in the news, right? Maybe everyone's questioning how they want to take their career in it right now. What advice would you have for students as we kind of step into the next few years of the market, and what advice would you give them about how to look at like a career in the industry going forward?
So I would say, first of all, read a lot about, so don't forget about why everything happened. So read papers from also, the beginning of times, that would be 2008. So it's pretty short time span. Still, you should understand why we got here and how it started and why it started. I think that is important that for the more technologies, I would recommend to not use blockchain as a Swiss knife, but use blockchain for the things that blockchain is useful for. So blockchains are great because they have a consensus and can have a way to store small quantities of data in a form that is non-modifiable forever, basically. But also don't forget that blockchains are extremely slow and efficient. So let's always think how and why you should use a blockchain rather than a pure peer-to-peer system like hole punch, for example. And always focus on learning and focus on building rather than speculation, right? Because we have seen what years of speculation made happen. And if you want to build a career in blockchain, first of all, learn to code. You don't need to be the best developer ever, but learn to get your hands dirty. at least a little bit, and really, get, learn the inside and out of both the technology, but also the ethos and the philosophy around it.
Awesome. Well, for everyone watching, we hope you guys enjoyed this interview, and we look forward to seeing more of everyone, and all the students. Thank you for joining, Paolo. It's a pleasure as always, and we look forward to everyone tuning in. Thank you, guys. Yeah.